Hello and welcome to another day of English 2. I'm your online teacher, Miss Bear. We have been working on an argument unit about graffiti. Is it art or is it a crime? And so as a reminder, this is Unit 6 on the Common Lit 360 curriculum. It is on that 9th grade curriculum, but that shouldn't matter at all. At this point, your teacher should have all of the resources that he or she needs in order to be able to give those resources to you for this unit, because we are at the end. We have today and tomorrow, and that's it for these lessons. So today is going to be a let's dig in and get some things done so that we can write this argument. Yesterday you had a debate in class, and I know that that debate went really well because you guys have done such a phenomenal job at digging through all of these resources, learning all of this key terminology, and really grasping what it means to for graffiti. Is it art or is it a crime? Our essential question for this unit has stayed the same. Is graffiti a work of art or a crime to be punished? How do we decide? And I believe that throughout this unit, you have been deciding that on your own, whether you believe it's a work of art or a crime. And I think that you've seen evidence for both sides. And so today, we're going to be looking at what does it mean to write a conditional argument? Because you may believe that some graffiti is art and some is a crime. They're depending on what it is. Content-wise, you may have that idea. So for this particular essay, you're going to, you might want to write a conditional argument. If this, then that. And so today you're going to need this handout from Common Lit 360 that says writing a conditional argument, and you will need a pencil. That's for right now. And then there's something else that you're going to need, but we're going to wait right now because I don't want your teacher to confuse you with anything. So let's talk about what you're going to be doing for this particular lesson. There are 4 different sections of this handout of writing a conditional argument. And you see all 4 different topics on the board behind me, and you saw it on the board in front of you. But let's walk through each piece, because this is what I want you to do. I want you to complete each part, and then I want you to have some type of class discussion. And when I say class discussion, this can be whole class where your teacher facilitates it, or it can be with a small group or even just a partner. But I want you, for after each part that you complete, I would like for you to be able to discuss that with someone else and refine your thoughts. So let's look at part 1. Part 1 asks you to analyze a student model. So read the student model and answer the questions. And it's telling you you should be given about 5 minutes for this. Also notice in the right-hand corner of your paper, this activity can be completed independently or with a partner. Again, if you're working with a partner, you both need to fill out your own worksheets, because you need to have that information for when you are working independently. All right, once you complete that and do your discussion, you're going to move on to part 2. Notice for this one, it can be a partner activity. And part 2 is defining a conditional argument. So they're going to actually give you an example for you to analyze. And remember, that word analyze means to break apart and examine each piece and part. And you can see in the example that they've given you, they have broken down each piece and part of that conditional argument. All right, once you complete that, you are going to move on to part 3. And this is planning your conditional argument. Notice here that this activity can be completed independently or with a partner. Again, on these activities that can be completed with a partner, that's really up to the teacher in your classroom. Because if you get with your partner and you are not going through the activity and completing it in a timely manner, then that means you're probably not on task. And if you're not on task, they're not going to continue letting you work with a partner. So I suggest you stay on task and talk about exactly what it is that these worksheets need you to talk about so that you can be effective and you can continue working with a partner. Again, after you complete section 3 or part 3, make sure that you are discussing this either with a partner, a small group, or whole class. Lastly, in this set, you are going to be drafting your own thesis. Because you are drafting your thesis, this activity needs to be completed independently by yourself. You've had opportunities to work with people throughout this unit, and so by now you should know what your opinion or what your thoughts are on the idea of graffiti. Is it art or is it a crime? Once you've written your thesis, again, discuss those as a class, because someone else in your class may have some ideas that they've put into theirs and you're like, oh, I like that idea. Maybe I can incorporate that one into mine. Or I can incorporate various pieces and parts into mine. When you have these class discussions, they are there so that you can make your thoughts better. Because one brain is great, but many brains is even better. So once you've completed all 4 parts and those class discussions, now you are ready for the next piece. We are going to review an exemplar essay. Now, for this part of the day, you are going to need this exemplar essay review piece of paper, and you will need a pencil or a piece of paper. And guys, just like these articles that we've read, there are questions in the margins that we're going to have to answer, and things that we need to annotate, and things that we will need to talk about as a class. So pull this out and let's get started. And this one, guys, I'm going to read with you. So let's get ready to analyze a student sample research paper. All right, part 1. In 2012, an Allen Independent School District in Texas spent $60 million on a new football stadium. At the time, the most expensive high school stadium ever. In fact, the New York Times reports that it has nearly the same capacity as Madison Square Garden. Now, McKinney Independent School District, adjacent to Allen Independent School District, is building a rival stadium for nearly $70 million. That's the equivalent of providing school lunch to all of the 24,500 students in McKinley every day for 6 years. This is a remarkable misappropriation of money in a state that chronically underfunds education. As of last year, not only did Texas rank 43rd in the nation for education, it ranked 49th in per pupil spending. Nationally, the U.S. spent an average of $11,667 per student, whereas Texas fell behind at $7,957 per student. But it's not only Texas whose obsession with sports is ripping at the seams of our educational system and consequently our democracy. All right, I'm going to pause here, and you need to answer the questions in the margin. The first one says, find evidence. So highlight the writer's position on the issue. So go back to that section, paragraphs 1 through 3, and highlight the writer's position on the issue. Once you've highlighted that, you're going to turn and talk with a partner. How do the facts that the writer presents strengthen the writer's argument? And make sure that you write your responses in that section on your piece of paper. So I'm going to pause here, give you about 2 or 3 minutes to finish this piece, and then we'll get back started. All right, great job, and some of you had some really good ideas. Some of you are having difficulty finding the writer's position. Make sure that if you are struggling, make sure that you are listening when other people are sharing. That way, you can help. It will help you identify those places. And the more that you're listening to others help you find that information, the easier it will be for you to find it in the future. All right, well, let's keep reading. Let's look at paragraph 4 and how this student completes or continues their conditional essay. A democracy forming without the proper education is doomed to crumble. Education is key in arming the electorate with the information necessary to consider candidates. Yet superfluous spending towards athletics is hindering the way our society is learning and voting, paving the path towards a strong democracy, not a sharply divided one, begins and ends with education. Shifting the focus from athletics to academics, from the playing field to the classroom, is the way to uphold our trembling nation. As Richard D. Kallenberg and Clifford Janey explain, the founders saw education as the safeguard of America's system of self-governance. Educating common people was the answer to the oligarchs who said the average citizen could not be trusted to choose a leader wisely. But with more than 2/3 of Americans unable to name all 3 branches of government, I can't help but ponder, is this the America that our founders had hoped for? Defunding sports is absurd. It is just as vital to have an active society as it is to have an educated one. But athletics cannot be the top priority when the U.S. is ranked so low in education. The Pew Research Center reports that the U.S. is currently 38th out of 71 developed and developing countries in math, and 24th in science. We are one of the wealthiest countries in the world, but our school funds are going down the drain. Arthur Margaret Rosa found that one high school was spending $328 per student for math instruction and more than 4 times that much for cheerleading, $1,348 a cheerleader. Spend tax money wisely. Invest more in education. Prioritize academics over athletics. And who knows, maybe if we spend $60 million on libraries instead of sports stadiums, students would understand that their society values education and they would vote accordingly. All right, now we have finished reading this essay. We have read all 6 paragraphs, and there are questions in the margins for you to answer. So we're going to pause here and let you answer those questions. Great job. I know I went a little bit fast and I missed a couple of spots, but that's okay. You have your handout in front of you with the questions there. My PowerPoint didn't follow me, but that's okay because I'm human just like you are. But you had your paper in front of you and you answered those questions accordingly. And I thank you. Now you know what it looks like to have a conditional argument. This person is not arguing against funding education. They are just looking at the various ways that education should be funded and kind of asking the public to look at that and look at the differences in how athletics is being funded versus how education or instruction is being funded. And that's the same way you will need to transition into your argument. So for graffiti, is it art or is it crime? Or are there certain parts that are art and certain parts that should be considered a crime? Part 2 of your handout are some key points. They would like for you to provide 3 components of a strong argumentative essay in high school. So based on that review of that essay, you want to complete part 2. All right, that is all that I have for you today. Again, we packed a whole lot into today, but I have faith that you worked through it and you did a fantastic job. So until next time, happy reading and happy writing.